Am I audible? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to welcome you on behalf of Aprajita Group of Companies to our 60 Minutes Compliance webinar. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome our 250 plus registered attendees who are a part of our session today. It is with great pride I would like to mention, we Aprajita have completed 24 dynamic, powerful years in India. We were responsible for setting the tone for an organized compliance industry from the year 2000. Today, with a pan-India presence and humbly servicing 2,000 plus clients across 100 plus industries, we have also extended our compliance services to countries like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Nepal. The 60 Minutes Compliance series was formulated 3 years ago, keeping in mind the vast complexities experienced by organizations and the workforce in India, on the non-availability of updated compliance knowledge across domains such as labor, industrial, and finance. It has been our continuous effort to provide legal perspective to the market at large through our webinar. Today we discuss in the topic, Clear Roadmap to Understanding and Complying with Extended Producer Responsibility EPR Regulations. Before I proceed, there are a few points to be noted. Any questions on the subject discussed today can be typed under the Q&A box available at the bottom of your screen. We will try our best to answer each one of them. In case we run out of time, please email us your questions to the mail ID on which you received your invite for this webinar, and our legal experts will directly address them back to you through mail. The session is recorded and will be posted on YouTube fortnightly, which can be viewed and accessed easily. The link will be provided to you in our chat box. Moving forward, I would like to introduce our speaker for today's session, Dr. G. Sridharan. A seasoned compliant expert and part of the knowledge powerhouse team of Aprajita, Dr. Sridharan comes with 10 plus years of handling more than 1,500 compliance projects across India, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bhutan, covering 78 different compliance licenses and ILS activities for global giants like Amazon, ABB, Flipkart, KFC, and Talipakatti, to name a few. He has been passionate in extending his knowledge to hundreds of our clients to leverage their focus and pay attention to implement the best compliance and governance practices for project and ILS, environmental health and safety, for their organizations. Thank you, sir, for coming on board to our 60 Minutes Compliance Webinar EHS series, and I hand over the forum to you.
Thank you, Faisal.
Thank
Good
you.
afternoon to one and all.
Your audio is clear, sir. You can proceed.
Yeah, just permit me to share screen.
Yeah.
Faisal, hope my screen is visible, right?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon to one and all. In this today's topics, EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility. In today's conditions, electrical and electronic equipment, battery, and plastic products are the most used products in our daily life. In these products, maximum plastics are used. Plastics are mostly made from natural materials such as cellulose, coal, natural gas, salt, and crude oil through a polymerization or polycondensation process. The properties of plastic are made on the most hazardous substances for the environment. The Government of India has laid down explicit legislation to minimize pollution. Extended Producer Responsibility is one such initiative aimed to place responsibility on certain stakeholders for the proper disposal of waste. In this session, what is the purpose or the reason behind the EPR has come? So one and all, we know very well that earlier, if any product comes out, if it is used, when the question comes about unserviceability or no more required, just we people used to dump it out. Earlier or more than earlier to 50 years and ago, we people are not facing any such issues as the population is increased and the products used are just dumped on the open area, which ultimately spoil the environment. So the reason behind to bring this EPR itself, how to control it, how to bring the environment healthy. Of course, related to this, the government has made many legislations. What are the legislations related to this EPR activity? And to whom and all this EPR is applicable? Is it registration is compulsory for one and all, or to whom it is required? The authorities behind this who are all involved. Of course, even though there are some responsibilities given to the concerned peoples, to whom and all what type of responsibility is given. And then we need to know the procedure and process to obtain the EPR registrations. Of course, for each and every compliance activity, we need to maintain some certain documents. Not only that, we need to submit some returns. Of course, due to one or other reason, whether is the EPR certificate or the registration can be transferable. In case non-compliance or somebody wanted to do purposefully mistake, then what is the compensation and what is the penalty? Of course, even though this activity started in 2022, within this one and a half year, many updates has come. This we will go through in this session. Yes, I said, of course, yes, everyone, we know very well that what the Article 21 says. Everyone has the rights to have is safe and comfortable environment living in this world. So extended producer responsibility of any producer of the environmentally sound management of the product until the end of its life is very much required. Then only what the fundamental rights is given that can be achieved. How to achieve it? They have to manage in such a manner to protect health and environment against any adverse effects which may result from any such product waste. Of course, due to knowledge concern, we need to have certain definitions to understand the session what we are going to discuss. E-waste, yes, everybody be aware that any electrical electronic equipment discarded or rejected. Similarly, plastic waste also rejected and their intended use is over. Battery waste concern, whether used battery and no more we are going to use it, or a components or spare parts of the battery, let it be hazardous or non-hazardous in nature, or the spares and parts of the consumables which may we use it, and expired batteries and the discarded batteries due to unserviceability. Why I am bringing here this e-waste, plastic waste, battery waste, the EPR, extended producer responsibility, is registered under these three headings only, or we can say that under these three rules only under Pollution Control Board. Of course, then how to control it? Through a waste management only. What is waste management? Collection of the waste, storage, transportation, reduction, reuse it, recover it, recycling, or composting or disposal of waste in an environmental safe manner. That is very much important. Of course, there are many authorities are that. Here I would like to mention it, what the definition class says, the public waste management authorities. They are the main people as on today who can ensure it. Village panchayat, municipal corporation, municipality and agencies engaged on their behalf. Finally, in many cases, you may come across EEE, that is electrical and electronic equipment, which are dependent on electric current or electromagnetic field. The legislations involved or the legislations ensures these EPR activities are principal. Primary legislation is the Environment Protection Act 1986. In the case of the e-waste management concern, the e-waste management rules 2022, the supersession of the e-waste management rules 2016. Of course, thereafter there are 3 amendments, 2 amendments in 2023. The 3rd amendment has come in 2024. I am here discussing or giving the details which is related to EPR activity only. Similarly, in the case of plastic waste management, even though the EPR, the registration is started in by the rules 2011, which is superseded by 2016. However, now the government has vigorously put into papers and made many amendments and brought it to such a position in the plastic waste management amendment rules 2022. Clearly in schedule 2, there are guidelines on EPR for plastic packaging is clearly given. What to do, how to go about it, everything. Similarly, the 3rd one, which is spoiling the environment, is again the battery waste management rules if it is not complied. This is a supersession of the rules 2001. Of course, there is a latest amendment in Battery Waste Management Amendment Rules 2023, which talks about EPR. Not only that, there are many notifications issued by the governments and directions and orders, either it issued by the government or by the commissioner or by the authorities. These are the legislations governing and ensuring the safe environment by ensuring the EPR activity. It is extended producer responsibility. Of course, what we are seeing that to whom it is applicable. Yes, earlier or last 50 years and before and all, people in mind that whoever is using our product, if I purchase a product, if I use it, the people think that the disposal or the waste, whatever is dumping is my responsibility. But that time, our people never, or the government also never come across what will be happened in the future. Now they realize that is the reason they wanted to ensure such a way that the owner of the product, that is the producer, the applicability person is mainly is the producer. Producer means he includes manufacturer and importer. Similarly, brand owners, there are many people, somebody will manufacture, somebody will import, but that will be on somebody's name. That is the reason again they added in the brand owners. Similarly, there are processors people are there. They're like a plastic waste and all. Processor, who is the processor? He is also responsible people. What type of process he is doing? The process is recycling the waste product or waste to energy, then waste to oil and industrial composting. And finally, in the case of the recyclers, that is, for example, any recycling, in the case of battery, if you see, recycling of waste batteries, it may be the parts or the lead, whatever the material made on that. That recycling concern also. So the recyclers is supposed to do the EPR registration under the State Pollution Control Board. Otherwise, all these owners, that is producer, importer, brand owners, and plastic waste processor, they have to register with the online Central Pollution Control Board site. This applicability implemented and ensured in the case of electrical concern, even though it has come very long back, but 1st April 23 onwards, and plastic concern 16th February 2023 onwards, and battery concern 22 August 2022 onwards. Now the government is very much serious. The applicability people supposed to do the registration online and follow the compliances. The registration is mandatory. The people, the whom we are discussing, that is producer, refurbisher, recycler, manufacturer, and producer. Recently they added. Earlier we never thought of that the solar photovoltaic models or the panels also going to be a waste. That related also now added. So all these owners supposed to do the extended producer's responsibility registration and comply from thereof. In case any entity falls in more than one category, that means if the person himself is a producer and similarly he collecting the waste and he refurbishing or he is recycling, whatever, if another activity he does, that means more than one activity if takes, then the entity should register under those categories separately. Of course, in this case, during the registration process, central board head office, that is member secretary of the central board only, pollution control board only giving the approval. Yes, I told that there are many authorities involved. As I said that Central Pollution Control Board is mainly sitting and monitoring the system, and the site is also developed by them. In that site only we need to do the online registration. The member secretary is the concern who is approving, and the designated officer appointed by the commissioner of ministry. Of course, due to some cases, the State Pollution Control Board also comes back, like the refurbisher or recycler cases. Responsibilities are given to every person, that is manufacturer, producer, refurbisher, recycler, Central Pollution Control Board, State Pollution Control Board, local bodies, that is let it be urban or rural, port authorities, Bureau of India standards, state government or union territory, that is Department of Industry or Department of Labor. Why I am here mentioning responsibility? In this rules only, 2022 rules only, they given everybody's responsibility separately. What manufacturer's responsibility? What is the producer responsibility? What is the refurbisher responsibility? Like is everybody's responsibilities clearly given. Not only that, in case of non-compliance, that concerned person is taken into task. Not only that, compensation also given as a penalty and fine. Not only that, even the government officials, if anybody is non-compliant, for them also the punishment is mentioned in these rules. In the case of producer obligations as a extended producer responsibility, he need to ensure or recycling or refurbishing obligations. Producer has to ensure directly landfilling is not permitted until unless finally if it is no more we can reuse or refurbish it, that time only with the intimation to the Central Pollution Control Board or as applicable to State Pollution Control Board, there only he can go for the landfilling and inclination, that also through the government authorized only. And other functions in the schedule was clearly they mentioned. Similarly, in the case of refurbisher also or recycler also, as per the Hazardous and Other Waste Management and Transboundary Movement Rules 2016, the activities to be ensured. He cannot make himself or any waste or let it be go like that. And Solid Waste Management Rules 2016 and Plastic Waste Management Rules 2016, these need to be checked and ensured. Similarly, recycler also needs to ensure, as per the e-waste management and solid waste management, he has to follow the rules whatever is mentioned in 2022, that too. Similarly, in the case of Central Pollution Control Board, that duties are clearly mentioned in the rules itself. They have to frame the latest updation online available. That is, every year there will be a board will be sitting. The board will work out, analyze, do with the research and scientists, and what last 1 year happened. Accordingly, after monitoring, they will issue the directions. That directions are supposed to be ensured by the State Pollution Control Board. The State Pollution Control Board may not be involving or ensuring the waste management directly. They have to go through the local bodies, that is urban and as well as rural. The port concern, there are people, they may import, because if only produce comes, that time only it is directly monitored by the state and central. Whereas in case if there are some parts or the product itself imported, then port authority is supposed to check whether the producer or manufacturer concerned people is done the EPR registration or not. Then only he ready to release the material from the port authorities. Similarly, BIS also given some certain duties like monitoring the waste, what is its nature, how it is going to affect the public, that they have to monitor. In case if it's required, even they have to give the code, color codes for each and every waste. As per that, all the stakeholders to follow and ensure that. Yes, finally, the state government and the union territories, that is industry of the industry department and as well as the labor department, should closely monitor, and the non-compliance people has to be brought into the both Central Pollution Control Board and State Pollution Control Board. Then accordingly, they to be either to be punished or to be compensated accordingly, or to the registration is to be cancelled, or even the factory can go for the closer stage. The process, if the concerned person, who is a person supposed to take the registration, he can go through online, 100% online activity can be done through online portal, obtain the user ID password, fill the application online, supporting documents, upload it related to the documents. What are the documents required? Online clearly they given, need not refer any act or rules, even though rules it is available mentioned, but however online it is clearly available on going through, you will come to know. Then fees is to be remitted online only, submit to authority for further process in online. Once it is submitted, it is a duty of the authority. Clearly, target time and response is given for each and every activity. Certain cases, minimum within 15 working days, the registration certificate will be available online. Due to some cases, it may extend at the maximum 30 days only timing. In case on submission, if anybody found any discrepancy in his application or in his submission of the documents, the mail will be sent to the concerned person. Through the mail, he can respond it. Even if it is required, the queries will be attended through VC. So maximum approval time is 30 working days. You can take it granted. If it is not there, it is already approved, and you will find automatically after 30 working days, your certificate is available. What you applied for in line with your document, it will be there. What is the targets you mentioned? What is the obligations you mentioned? As per that, the certificate will be available. Then you have to ensure the compliances. Of course, once you have done this, we need to go for the renewal. When it becomes a due, need to go. In the case of battery concern, EPR, and electrical equipments concern, EPR, 60 days previous to expiry. But whereas in the case of plastic concern, 4 months, that is 120 days prior to expiry, you need to apply for your renewal as per renewal date is given. In such a case, if you are not done the annual report submitted, then your renewal application will not be accepted online. Not only online, even manually you cannot do it, because we have to do it only through online. Yeah, of course, once you obtain the registration, that is EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility Registration or certificate, once you obtained, you need to do certain document is to be maintained. That is, whatever mentioned obligations and your whatever mentioned in your certificate, that you have to ensure. In addition to that, you need to submit, in the case of electronic equipments contain, annual and quarterly returns in the online laid down forms. You have to fill it and submit it. That is, before end of the month succeeding the quarter or year. In the case of plastic, 30th June for the next financial year. Here next financial means annual, your plan. What is your target? How much you are planning to produce and how much waste you are going to collect it. How you are going to work out your recycling. What is the plan? That is to be submitted for the next financial year in the annual report as a. Similarly, in the case of battery concern, the quarterly returns are filled within 30 days after end of the each quarter. Here also, if any due returns are pending, you will not be accepted for your renewal of your registration. Yes, yes, we were talking to you earlier. The certificate can be transferred. Yes, only it can be transferred in case death of the owner. Or in such a case, online transfer is possible. We need to have the document, that is death certificate and proof of legal right, and you submit it online and pay the fees for that. Then you can get the transfer. Yeah, the interesting is that in case if I do non-compliance, what will happen? In the case of electronic equipment concern, fail to comply whatever mention the conditions in your authorization, you will be cancelled. Your authorization will be cancelled and or impose environment compensation also. Not only that, conditions what is mentioned in your EPR, in addition to that, you have to ensure comply what supposed to do it under the Environmental Protection Act 1986 and the e-waste rules 2016, thereby whatever amended, that you need to ensure. In the case of plastic concern, if the plastic waste processor is found to be violating the provision of his registration, it can be cancelled or suspended, the certificate or authorization, and impose environment compensation. Similarly, in case of battery concern, if the EPR obligations are violated any non-compliance. As per Schedule 2, you have to ensure in such a case, the EPR registration will be suspended or cancelled. Then impose environment compensation. See, here we are seeing all the cases. Environment compensation. How the environment compensation is calculated, that we will see. In the case of battery concern also, again, if the recycler has to ensure the battery waste management rules 2022, he has to ensure. Otherwise, he will be, again, his certificate will be cancelled and impose environment compensation. How the imposition of the environment compensation is taken place, for whom and all it is applicable. Cases considered are discharge in violation of consent conditions. There are conditions mentioned in your consent and similarly in your EPR registration. If it is violated, then or the limits or standards what mentioned, if it is crossing, then you will be imposed compensation. Not complying the directions what is mentioned in your installation concern, that is OCEMS, online continuous emission effluent monitoring system, non-adherence to the action plan submitted. Because when you are submitting, when you are applying your EPR, you need to submit your plan of action, how you are going to retrieve the waste. Because in the extended producer responsibility, the government has finalized and decided, instead of going through or running behind the users, it's better to catch hold of the producer who is the ultimate person. Because of his production only, it becomes the environment unhealthy. That is the reason they have to ensure whatever the emission effluent control system, if it is not taken place as mentioned in their conditions and as well as in the act provision, then also compensation will be applicable. In case there are cases, government has found or authorities have found intentionally avoidance of data submission or data manipulation by tampering the OCEMS, then also compensation imposed. Accidental discharge lasting for short durations resulting into damage to the environment. The government realized and it is felt, and not only that, found many of the people, you might have come to know many cases and the newspapers and newses also. Sometimes at night time simply they will release the gas or they will release the waste in the open area or in the water, wherever is that. That is accidentally discharging or knowingly discharging. That cases also compensation will be imposed. Intentional discharge of environment, let it be, maybe you may be doing in the land or water or air, resulting acute injury or damage to the environment. Injection of partially treated effluents to groundwater. You are not supposed to do that. If you do, if it is found, then also environment compensation will be imposed. Yes, now there is many people's mind, the question will arise, how the environment compensation is calculated. There is a very simple formula. Environmental compensation calculation is EC equal to PI into N into R into S into LF, where EC is environment compensation in rupees. PI means pollution index of industrial sector. That is, as per the pollution control board, as everybody aware of that, there is a category white, green, orange, red. In such a case, what is that? Up to 20 white, 21 to 40 if the pollution index, then green, then 41 to 59 orange, and above that, that is 60 to 100 is is a red category. In that case, the PI is taken average. For weight category, that is whatever that is almost all nil, we consider it. That is the reason in that case, they taken the average pollution index, that is 30, 50, 80. 30 for the green category, 50 orange, 80 is the red category. The number of days, N is number of days violation took place. The authority, when he points out or finding out which day onwards the violation taken place, the number of days taken into account. Or is a factor in rupees. That is minimum 100, maximum 500. Generally, now they are suggested and considered the R as 250. That is average they taken as the environmental compensation in case of any violation. Similarly, in case of factor scale operation, based on small, medium, large industry, the categorization which may 0.5 for micro, 1 for the medium, and 1.5 for the large units. That how it is calculated. Again, in case of LF, that is in case of location factor, the location factor is taken into population. What is there? That population in that city or town, that they taken into 10 kilometer distance from the municipality boundary or the city or the town boundary. If it is less than 10 kilometer, more than 10 kilometer, in that case, one they taken within 10 kilometer, in that case, that is the population is 1 to 5, 1 million to or 5 million, that is less than 5 million, it is taken into 1.25, more than 5 million and less than 10 million, 1.5, 10 and above taken into 2. The factor is taken, then multiplied, and but not only that, even though multiplication may come less than that, but environment compensation minimum per day is taken into account 5,000 rupees. In order to include different effect for repeated violations, an environment compensation may be increased on exponential basis. That is, by 2 times on first repetition, 4 times on the second repetition, and 8 times on further repetitions. In the operations of the industry, inevitably violator continues operations beyond 3 months. Then for the determined compensation, that is increased by 2, 4, and 8 times for second, third, and fourth quarter respectively. Even if the operation are inevitable beyond 12 months, violator will not be allowed to operate. That time they will go for closure of the company itself. Besides environment compensation, industry may be prosecuted. Closure direction may be issued whenever required. This is compensation concern. However, automatically the penalty class, fine class, that is separate. This is the one of the situation. Recent past, one of my client come up and he was crying. I have not done anything wrong. How it has come? They stored such a waste where he is given limit more than that limit. The authorities come and found, he calculated and imposed a fine. That was in the lakhs. Lakhs means not 1 or 2 lakhs, more than 78 lakhs. That time he is claiming what mistake I have done it. That calculation part very clearly shows when onwards this has happened and it has come. Why this mainly we brought this session to our people, the seriousness. Not only that, you will come to know Jan Viswas one more act is created. There you will find that clearly what and all. In the following slide, I'll explain to you. Imposition of environment compensation, how it is levied upon the polluter pays principle with respect to non-fulfillment of EPR targets. As per the laid down guidelines by the Central Pollution Control Board, It will be levied by the State Pollution Control Board. In case if the concern is working more than two states, or that is having two states or more, in such a case, Central Pollution Control Board will levy the fine, that environment compensation. If it is 2 or less, then State Pollution Control Board is given permission. Not only that, whatever the target you given in the obligations, if you addressed within the 3 years, whatever levied compensation will be returned to you. See, the earlier, that is compensation in case of non-compliance. This is if you are given the target, for example, if you are given first year you will collect 25% of the waste, second year you will collect 50%, third year you will collect 75%. If you fail to do, then first year compensation will be given, second year compensation will be given. In case within third year, you complete your target last 2 years also, then whatever the compensation paid by you, that will be returned to you. Okay. Now penalty clause concern. In addition to compensation, the penalty, that is imprisonment for a term which shall not be less than 1 year and 6 months, but which may extend to 6 years and with fine. In case continuous contravention, 5,000 for each day of such contravention. This is as per the Act provision. Whatever compensation is, that is additionally. Not less than 1 lakh shall extend to 15 lakhs. Now this, you people may be thinking that from where this 15 lakh has come. Because the Jan Vishwas, that is Amendment of Provision Act 2023 has come. In that one, many things they ensuring, that is fine penalty concern, to ensure the ease of business. An act to amend certain enactments for decriminalizing and rationalizing offenses to further enhance trust-based governance for ease of living and doing business. Clearly mentioned, living, ease of living and doing business. In this one, almost all whatever the act we made it in India, prior to independence or post-independence, they updated the penalty clause. Not only that, in this act, the schedule clearly they mention 10% will be increased. Why? Because the people might have been thinking that some 20 years, some 70 years before also, if you have done the mistake, that time for that mistake, maybe 300 rupees. That was continuing for years together. Now this Jan Viswas has brought latest amendment on the fine clause. Not only that, in that act itself clearly mentioned the amount of fine will automatically, after every 3 years, minimum 10%, or in case if any changes they are making more than that, that will be automatic, the fine clause. For example, in the case of our Environment Protection Act itself, penalty for contravention, any act or rules, orders or direction, any person contravenes. Here only they clearly mention. Earlier it was no amount mentioned, but now here clearly mentioned 10,000 rupees, but which may extend to 15 lakh rupees. In case contravention continues, 10,000 rupees for every day. Earlier it is 5,000 rupees. Now it becomes 10,000 rupees. Similarly, in case of penalty by the companies, in that case, the penalty will increase 1 lakh rupees. 1 lakh rupees for every day. See, it may be astonishing for the people because many of the people not aware of that. In recent past, last week, I got mail from one of my client, why I am penalized this much, because these people are not aware of that. Even though we updated in our system these things, many of the people neither gone through or neglected. We don't know. That is a reason in the classes we do. Similarly, even if the government department, if they do any mistake, the head of the department, his 1 month salary will be fine. That is minimum. Not like that they have only done for the public only. No. Even if it is a government department, even if the authority also failed to do in the EPR concern any what he is supposed to do, he missed it. For him also, they clearly mentioned the fine class or penalty class. Okay. Now we'll come back to again EPR concerned updates. E-West concern in the EPR portal. Even last year we have come across, in 2022 also we come across, when the EPR they introduced, many of the people were facing problem, their product or they imported, it is held up by the port authorities. So the government has worked out and gone through. They mention clearly, give the direction to the port authorities, either it be a airport or the seaport, wherever he is there, they given the instruction. If it is not listed in the schedule 1 of the e-waste rules 2022, he need not to go for the EPR registration. Without EPR registration, that product will be released. In case, even though if it is in the scheduled 1 listed, but the selling to products under registered EPR portal person, the person is importing some electrical electronic equipments from foreign country or battery from foreign country. Now he is selling to the person who is already EPR registered. In that case, with that registration can be given. Or if you are importing purely for your self-use, not for sale, or captive concession for manufacturing and selling to producers already registered. In such a case, the EPR registration is not mandatory to the person who is importing, provided he need to prove these 4 conditions. That is, the consentment to whom you are imported, that person's EPR certificate, or it is purely only for that person, or it is only for your own use, or then finally you have to give your declaration, whatever the equipment you are importing, like this only. On that basis, without EPR registration, they release it. Similarly, in case if your consumers or bulk consumers importing electronic equipment for self or captive use, provided that the consumer or bulk consumer submits self-declaration to the customs or port authorities on its letterhead that is being imported or intended only for self or captive. In that case, EPR registration is not mandatory for him. Why? Because the concerned person is a responsible person, but ultimately, even though if you brought, but you have to follow the rules and regulations for the disposal. That is another important. Similarly, now recent past, because even though 2022 the rules has come and there are many data you have to submit it and somebody has to update it, many people could not do it. That is the reason now recently they given the returns filing, they given relaxation 9 months. This time they given, you can delay, you can do it. Not only that, many people put or issues they face, how to upload it, how to do the EPR registration, to whom all these things and all. Many people started raising. That is a reason now video conferencing classes are going on daily basis, this Monday to Saturday between 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Anybody or any producer, those who want, let it be a recycler or producer or who are the associates, they can join and they can attend and gain the knowledge. Not only that, now recent past, even the plastic waste concern, there is a biodegradable plastics also included. That means a plastic other than compostable plastics, which undergoes degradation by biological processes in specific environment, such as a soil, landfilling or sewage sludge, freshwater or marine, without leaving any microplastics are visible or distinguishable or toxic residue, which has adverse environment impact. So the biodegradable plastics also definition class has given. Now the many people again now and then question comes as manufacturer, there is who is manufacturer, who is the producer. For that also in the recent past updates clearly given, manufacturer includes a person engaged in production of the plastic raw material. See, earlier manufacturing means only product manufacturing. Now if you are doing any spare or any part of the product, you are manufacturing, you are also called as a manufacturer, including compostable plastics and biodegradable plastics also. That person also brought under the manufacturer. So they brought this type of people also in the EPR category. Similarly, producer means a person engaged in manufacturing of plastic packaging and includes a person engaged in manufacture of intermediate material to be used for the manufacturing, and also a person engaged in contract manufacturing of the product. You see, all these people brought in the producer category also, because day by day when they come across any issues, when they realize it, the board is work out, they call the scientists and they're asking them to analyze and find the facts. Then they are taking the advice. From that advice, the Central Pollution Control Board start giving instructions and giving the updates in the online. And not only that, there are many amendment rules regulations also given. We might have been thinking that this updates only not only for the public, even for the government officials and the district level or the panchayat level people also. They clearly given in a panchayat or district level what are the activity they are supposed to do. In case of waste dump sites, they have to give 30th June of every year in the rural areas and district, they have to give their estimate quantity of plastic waste. The estimate plastic of what is for next 5 years, what is their plan, whether they can accommodate or not. Like this, each and everything they are asking, they have to submit it to State Pollution Control Board. Ultimately, then it goes to Central Pollution Control Board, and the government is working out to ensure the healthy environment, to have the pollution-free environment. The district level includes annual reports, details of plastic. Why you may think that EPR is for the battery also, EPR is for the electrical electronic also, EPR for the plastic. But the responsibility update when it comes maximum, they are focusing on the plastic. Why? Because in all these three, the plastic only used as the maximum material. That is a reason very clearly they are giving. Beyond this, as already I mentioned, is BIS has to monitor and start giving, ensuring whatever the product, whatever the raw material, whatever the packaging, whatever the commodities, that they have to analyze and they have to give the color coding clearly to indicate what they have to do, how to dispose it up. That also they are supposed to give. In electronic equipment concern, storage is permitted up to 180 days only. In case if you are storing more than 180 days, in such a case, you need to take the permission from the central pollution control board, they can extend, or you may extend it maximum 365 days. So like this, many updates are available. You can go through our websites and you will find what is the latest updates clearly mentioning. The producer, especially in the battery waste concern also, there is obligations or the targets in the battery waste management rules 2022 schedule to clearly they given how you can collect it, not only for this talking about the waste battery, everything for the waste. You can use any of the system, either you ask them to deposit refund system or buyback system or any other model through which you can collect it. Why? Because now the main responsibility come to the producer. Okay, just we completed. If there is any question, we can go through. Over to you, Faisal.
Thank you so much, sir. That was a very detailed and expressive topic that we had actually covered over here. In fact, quite a lot of attendees have posted a few questions, and I think we will take the questions one by one, sir.
Yeah, as much possible we'll address it. If time concern, then we can respond this one to through their mail ID. And as it is, as you said, that is going to available within another 4 days online.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's one question in which plastic waste, we procure child parts which is wrapped by plastic cover. We just discard it and then we send finished product in a cardboard box and bins only. In this case, which category comes under, and is there any registration required for it?
You see, the plastic concern, there are 4 categories given. If that product falls within that 4 category, that is category 1, that is rigid package plastic. Category 2, flexible plastic packaging, that is of single layer or multi-layer. The category 3 is multi-layered plastic packaging. The category 4 is the plastic sheet or like used packaging as well. If it is within this 4, then only it is applicable. If it is not there, need not to go for the EPR registration.
Okay.
That means they already worked out, decided if the 120 micron and above, if it is, that is reusable. That is a reason they want to, this way they brought it.
Okay. So it's necessary for the industries who are only using plastics for packing jobs to register.
That's why I told you, if it is out of this 4 rigid, then only it is required.
Then
if
only.
they are not using that 4 out of the 4, more than that 4, then it is not required for them.
Okay.
As it is, they go for the consent, that is different. I'm talking about EPR registration only.
Okay. So is this registration done state-wise?
No, it is online. Once when online you start filling, if you do the business when you are mentioning your address and factory address, more than 1 state, up to 2 states, you can do it online. If it is more than 2 states, then only levy class will come. But ultimately, all the registration online central portal only, issued by the central, nowhere concerned with the state, only levying fine or the fees only. State level.
What is the difference between a producer and a manufacturer?
Yeah, producer, very simple language. If you want to see, I am producing. Manufacturing, I'm manufacturing. What is producing? What is manufacturing? Different. If you want to see, I am manufacturing a battery. What I do, I will, somebody else order me, you give me 500 batteries and he will use his name, or he may make or in his name, or he may make use of it for some, that is, he's a producing. Then only he's a producer. Manufacture means only on your own name. Okay. The second thing, if he is making, for example, car. Now, car is a product. In the car, tire is from somebody else. Now, and body is from somebody else. Then battery is from somebody else. Now, he is a producer. If he is using everything manufactured himself, then he is a manufacturer.
Okay, that's quite clear. Is registration required for importers importing equipment for personal use, not resale, and the equipment is having some plastic protective covering, plastic dust cover greater than 150 micron?
If it is more than 150 micron, not required.
Not required. Okay.
But he has to ensure the disposal in the as per the plastic waste management that he has to give. Then undertaking also he has to give to the authority.
Okay. I think this particular person is facing some sort of a problem with the registration. So he's saying they are unable to register themselves in the EPR portal. Error is coming.
He can attend nowadays Monday to Saturday evening 4 to 5 online. He can join and they will give the full clarity.
Full clarity. Okay.
VC, online VC.
Okay.
If they want link, we can circulate in our system itself along with our.
Okay. So EPR registration under plastic management rule is one time or it requires periodical renewal?
No. EPR registration, some cases that depends upon what type of activity you are going, plastic concern, they may give for maximum 7 years. Or sometimes due to one or other reason, they may give for less than that. But first time they will give 1 month. Then later on, they will see that how you are performing as per your performance or conditions you are complying. On that basis, they may increase to 3 years or 7 years, up to 7 years.
Any onus on the part of scrap vendors who collect the e-waste from consumers and selling it to recyclers?
Yeah, there are people available, authorized people available. That's why I told you the last point I told you, latest update they given. You may deploy any type of system to collect waste.
Okay. How is environment compensation calculated and fixed?
I think we worked out and I've shown you the compensation.
Oh, yes, you did. Yeah.
We have worked it.
I think this question's from the earlier part of it.
Yeah, maybe.
I think we'll move to the Q&A box, in which quite a few questions from them. So there's one question. We are registered under EPR under producer, and we have wrongly mentioned in the EEE items sales data obtaining at the time of EPR certificate, and we've got the EPR obligations of EEE items for 3 tons.
See, if he has done wrongly mentioned, he can send a mail and amendment can be done and the acknowledgement can be obtained from the authority. He can continue compliance.
Okay. I think this is another question. And if the plastic packaging material thickness more than 120 micron for import material package, is it mandatory for EPR registration?
More than 120, it is not required, but he
required.
has to give the undertaking that he is going to dispose it off in line with the management rule, that is plastic waste management rule 2022.
Okay. We are automobile company and use plastic bin or PP sheet for customer supply. Empty bins come back to us for next supply. So we are in which category as per plastic waste management rule?
You see, that I told you that rigid out of the 4 category, if he comes anyone, then even when he can see the online, there are photos clearly available. Rigid plastic, or that is flexible plastic, or layered or multi-layer plastic, and plastic sheet. If it is out of this 4, then only required. If he is not falling in this area, then he need not to go for the registration under the EPR. Under the consent concern, automatically whatever the waste comes, he can dispose it up through the authorized vendor and maintain the records.
Okay. We applied for the EPR brand owner registration, but the application is still under process. Do we need to file an annual return this June, or should we wait until the registration is
No,
complete?
you wait for that, then you submit the return. Because now they're given 9 months of time. Because of portal was there some issue. That is a reason. Now they can wait on getting the EPR registration, then he can file it for the past period also. They accept it.
We are a company that just purchased multiple laptops for our employees. Could you please clarify the compliance requirements related to annual returns and registrations for these devices? Specifically, are there any reporting obligations or registration processes we need to follow?
You see, he is a multi-purchaser, we can say that, for the own use, whatever. Now he has to ensure that the waste disposed is through the registered vendor and obtain the certificate from the vendor, and how many laptops, what is the weight he is handed over, that is to be maintained with him. That is sufficient. In case if he consent already taken, then he need to submit the return, annual return.
Yeah. Can you explain what is EPR credit rating?
Yeah, credit rating is, for example, now you are given the plan for next 3 years or next 4 years, you will produce this much out of that X amount. Out of X amount, Y amount you will collect back. That is waste, like this you are giving. Once you started giving in line with your whatever declaration, in that case, you will be getting credit. So, for example, they plan it, if your waste this much, the compensation is worked out. This year, if you have completed, then you will not be given any compensation. Compensation need not to pay. But next year, if you could not do it, they will give the chance for next 3 years. The next 3 years altogether, if you completed, then the amount what you last year they collected, that will be in your credit. That is called credit.
Thank you. There are a few more new questions that people have actually asked. So whether CTO permission is required prior to registration?
No, registration concern, CTO is nowhere concerned.
Okay. Is any returns having any type of applicability, or else mandatorily all the returns should be filed as per the due dates?
No, only as per the due dates only need to file. Need not to mandatory, earlier you need to file. Only you have to give the plan of your action, that is scheduled. You have to give what is your plan, how much you are going to. See, it can be changed. For example, this year, I'm going to do the production for 100 ton. Okay, next year, you are giving 150 ton, like this you are giving. In the period of time, if you find you are not 100 ton you are produced, then next year return you can submit it less than 100 ton only you produce. Similarly, if it is increased, next year you can add it up accordingly. That schedule only need to be again changed, or you can give reschedule it, then accordingly only your again credit also varies.
Okay. Is scrap vendors has to be registered in the EPR portal?
See, the scrap vendor need not to register, but the recycler, refurbisher only registered, and the scrap vendors used to be connected with the collection centers. They can have the one certificate, otherwise nobody is going to take it. This is to be monitored. That is a reason here responsibility of the panchayat and municipality and corporation. That is their duty. You need not to have any EPR registration, but the collected things are is handed over to the authorized vendor or the EPR registered person. That is important. That is a duty of the government to check.
Okay. Now that CTO permission, there is another follow-up question to it. Is EPR registration is mandatory for importer who registered under STPI 100% EOU ITITES?
You see, if he is already registered and if it is only using for the own use, he can give the undertaking, then he can collect it. Otherwise, if he is going to sell it out or somebody else, again he has to whom he is going to sell. If that person is having EPR registration, that copy he can take and he can submit to the port authorities for the releasing the product. Otherwise, he need to register under EPR.
Okay. What has changed under the new definition of producer under the PWM Amendment Rules 2024?
Yeah, in 2024, that clearly they mentioned raw material manufacturer also. Raw material in the sense a part of the. For example, if you take one plastic, one item or one manufacturing. Let us take for example of the washing machine. In the washing machine, some body may be the plastic and some other inside part also some plastic. If these two are manufactured by XY concern. Now, earlier that XY concern need not to register anywhere. The Onida, for example, take it as a Onida washing machine, that person only required. Now, the parts manufacturing person also brought under the producer category. Manufacturer category.
Right.
Manufacturer category. Producer means, again, manufacturer means even if your part you are manufacturing, you have to go for that new definition. Producer means you may not be manufacturing. You take from somebody else, your brand name you are giving. So now you are manufacturing. You take 4 parts from 4 people and all the 4 parts you are assembling and selling it to somebody. See, actually you are not manufacturing any of the part. Now you are selling it. But all the 4 is brought from somebody else. Now as per new, you are also producer here. And similarly, all that 4 people becomes a manufacturer. Spares also manufacturing person becomes a manufacturer as per the new rule.
We'll take a couple of more questions before we close it. So we have 4 plants in Pan India with a single company name. Can we register each state or single registration?
No, they can only one activity they can send one registration, not an issue. In case if different activity done only, for example, if it was doing only manufacturing, all the 4 place, one registration sufficient.
Okay. Could you outline what are all the activities that we have to do under EPR registration?
See, EPR registration is very simple. As I told that online, you have to first register and obtain the user ID password. Then start filling. When you go online, it will has all the form available readily for each and every person separate, producer separate, manufacturer separate, or whatever the concerned person. Accordingly, the forms available, you select that form, start filling it up, and what are the supporting document asking, you upload it. Then automatically it will come. For example, you have 1 factory or 2 factory, 3 factory, fees will be accordingly, automatically the system will calculate. Then it will say this much amount you have to pay. Online you do the payment. Once you complete the payment, finally it will ask whether you want to submit. Yes, once you submit it, then it will submit it. If authority every day 2 times they are supposed to check it, they check it. Then within 15 days, if you are not getting any query, that means almost your application is through. Within 25 days before approving authority, sometimes if there is a clarification required, they may call you or they may send a mail and they may call you VC through VC. Otherwise, within 30 days, you will get the registration certificate available online. Whatever user ID password, you put it and see within 30 days or completion of 30 days, you will find the certificate is available. Whatever the declaration given, on that basis, the certificate will be ready. Once you downloaded your certificate, then in the conditions, whatever mentioned in that EPR certificate, you have to ensure the authority may, that is a state pollution control board or local authority may come and check. If they found everything complete, good. If non-complete, then again, whatever the thing what we discussed, compensation or all other fine, penalty, everything will start.
Okay. We'll go for one last question. Where do we get the list of certified vendor to whom we can sell
Download.
tires?
You can download online. Online it is available.
Online.
Daily basis available. If I have added today, my name is automatically available.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Sridharan sir. To the rest of attendees, I have actually included an email ID 60minutescompliance@aprajita.com in the chat box. So if you have any further more questions, please drop in an email on those questions. on that email ID, and we will have it addressed back to you. All we would require is your details when you actually send those questions across to us. Thank you so much. Thank you for being a part of this program. Thank you, Sridharan sir, for taking this session. I really appreciate your time and commitment towards the 60 Minutes Compliance webinar series. And hope you all have a very good weekend and have a good day. Thank you all.
Bye.